All right, Wednesday news video, but this week in terms of news, the thing I want to talk about is the new Xbox Handheld. Reviews are dropping. I have had a review unit. I've been messing around with it for about a week now, living with it, and I definitely want to say some stuff about it. This is essentially first impressions. I'm going to do a more in-depth, detailed video on game ranks at some point, but as kind of like a practice or audition for that, I just wanted to get my off-the-cuff first impressions here with the that's a Steam Deck OLED. That was not intentional. This is the Asus ROG Ally X. This has been the much talked about Xbox handheld, but it is essentially a Windows handheld more than anything. It is an Xbox branded Windows PC gaming handheld. Don't get it twisted. This is not just like a Portal. I'm just holding everything up today. This isn't like a PlayStation Portal. You're not playing just native Xbox games on this or anything like that. This is something more akin to a Steam Deck. Now, I bring up Steam Deck specifically because I love the Steam Deck very much. Steam Deck is like my favorite thing in the world. I use it so much. I am a PC gamer, but I hate Windows. I've been on record about that. I just don't like it at all. So anything that removes, I understand it's a necessary evil for a lot of things, but whatever kind of pulls me away from that, I'm happy. So I went into the ROG Ally X device, the Xbox Ally X, pretty excited about how they were talking about the Windows or Xbox full screen experience here. So now that's what you get with this. When you fire up the Ally X, you're not getting Windows or some proprietary Asus kind of overlay. You're getting the Xbox full screen experience, which is essentially an Xbox interface that is a catch-all for all your games that you have installed on this thing, whether it's on Xbox or Steam or Epic Games or GOG or whatever. So it has all the Windows capability, but with a lot of it stripped away, giving you this very simple, basic, intuitive interface. And, according to them, and I'm not a frame counter, but according to them, you get a little bit more memory because everything is a little bit more simplified. So having used it now for a minute, off the cuff, I just want to say that these types of things take time. I think you really need to spend a shit ton of time with a device to really, really make a big opinion on it. And especially with this one, it's heavy, man, because it's $1,000 US. I'm using the higher tier SKU one. This is the power user one. So $1,000 in the US is very difficult to recommend if in any instance, let alone the economics circumstances right now, all that. And it is a niche device for a very niche consumer, presumably an enthusiast, a hardcore type person. So I guess I'm speaking to those people at some point, but I will say if you're a console person and this is going to be your first PC gaming handheld, it's still going to feel like a PC. Weird shit happens with this thing. It makes Windows noises sometimes. Sometimes you see Windows. It's not completely hidden. It's not completely stripped back like they're saying, but they just do a better job of keeping it out of your face. And I do like that this catch-all Xbox UI gives you all your stuff. It's interesting though with Xbox changing and having Game Pass front and center on the tab for full screen experience. I am someone who, like many people, the Game Pass price subscription cost has just gone up, losing a lot of consumer goodwill and faith. And I personally am very much probably going to let my Xbox Game Pass subscription run out because I don't want to pay the new higher prices. So now I have this device and it's very excited to show me my Game Pass games that I may eventually not even pay for anymore. But besides that, when you just have apps that you've installed from Steam, Epic, GOG, and Xbox or Microsoft, whatever, it's nice to have them all at a glance. And with that, what I really like is this kind of Alt-Tab feature where you hold the Xbox button on this thing and then it brings up it's kind of like an Alt-Tab, how you do on PC, but it just feels less craptastic or weird. It's not perfect, but when it works best, it's instantaneously bouncing back and forth between apps like a quick resume type thing. But because it is Windows, sometimes it just won't work. Sometimes it'll freak out on you. It's just kind of the nature of these things. But sleep and standby actually seems to be a thing here, which is really interesting for a Windows device. But for me, I've just been playing a ton of stuff. Rogue Prince of Persia, a game I've loved, I've talked about in the past. I've been jumping into the 1.0 version of it, but then I've also been able to take advantage of things I wouldn't do on a Steam Deck or my Steam Deck, like play Battlefield 6. I've been playing quite a bit of Battlefield 6 on this. It runs, you have the sound, you have the visual effects, you have the chaos, you have the multiplayer, all that stuff. Is it the place I want to play Battlefield? No. Am I precise? No. But the fact that I can is awesome. And playing Cyberpunk 2077, getting some pretty impressive frame rates on it, better than I expected. Again, I'm not like a hardcore tech guy. I've kind of fallen off the wagon there. I like building PCs, but like I'm not counting like clock speed anymore. I fell off, is what I'm saying. But as a device, hardware-wise, though, I have been enjoying it. I like the Steam Deck OLED. That screen, the OLED screen is a little bigger, and it's OLED, but this has been doing the job just fine. 1080 is very nice to have. Form factor-wise, like when you first mess with this, and my first impressions of this when I saw this a couple of months back in an event, I thought it was a big fucker, pardon my language. That's because it is so thick here. And of course, it has these fully ergonomic controller, like Xbox style controller grips. It makes it feel much bigger, but then next to the Steam Deck for real, it's not that much different. And thankfully, weight wise, it's only a little bit heavier. It's not as bad as you would think. I'm actually surprised how much they crammed in here, specifically because the ergonomic hand controller things are really good. I think the Steam Deck, and again, all I can speak to is a Steam Deck. I'm a big Steam Deck person. Steam Deck, I feel like it could use a little bit more grip. This, I feel like, might almost be a little bit too much grip. If there was an in-between, that would be perfect for me, but I'm nitpicking. Generally, I would say for this, just know that this to me, and I have like larger hands, I'm not like bragging or anything, it's actually a curse, but this feels like I have large hands and I'm like, okay, this is pretty big. I feel like if I had smaller hands, I would not enjoy this as much. So keep that in mind. But I've been surprised how loud the speakers are. I don't know, I can't speak to the quality, I'm not an audiophile, but I have been pretty like, whoa, with how loud the speakers are, specifically playing Battlefield 6 and hearing whoosh, like as a jet flies over me overhead, you know, the loud explosions and those effects and stuff like that. That's been working out really well. I'll keep going in a sec, but for right now, just a quick word from the sponsor. Hey, now before I keep yapping, this video is sponsored by Factor. If you don't know Factor, they deliver fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. And this is absolutely clutch if you're busy, you got a lot going on, or you need real consistency with your meals for maybe your time or health goals or whatever. Plus, saving time and money, grocery shopping, meal prepping, all of that, you don't have to worry about that with Factor. Wellness-forward meals with whole food ingredients make a heck of a difference. Everything Factor has tastes really good. That's why I've been eating it for years now. From the amount of meals you have coming to you to the actual types of meals, they have you covered with so many options. We're talking vegan, vegetarian, keto, and recently Factor has actually doubled the size of its menu, with double the seafood and protein options, plus more options for Mediterranean. This just means if you're trying to eat clean or simple or more fiber or protein, whatever your goals are, Factor actually makes it exciting because it all tastes so good. And with all the new options, it's just a win-win. So if you want to check it out, click the link in the description down below or head to factor75.com. And when you're there, use code ONJakeFB50 for 50% off your first Factor box. Plus free breakfast for 1 year. So again, click that link and the code is ONJakeFB50 for 50% off your first Factor box plus a year of free breakfast. The offer is only valid for new Factor customers with the code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Big thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now back to it. All right, jumping back to it, another thing that gets a lot of like freak, like identity crisis type thing because you have all the Xbox UI stuff, right? Which for the most part is pretty clean, pretty useful, really nice. But then it is still an Asus product, so you have Armory Crate. So that's another separate dedicated button that gives you things like power mode, like how much juice you want to use, how much you want to burn in this device to get better performance, frame rate limiter, resolution changes, changing the color lights. I turned them blue because blue is my favorite color, but all those types of things, right? All those performance profiles and things you would access on the Steam Deck with the little button on the side then and have it pop up on the side, right? Here you have all that and it pops up in a completely different UI and art style compared to the rest of the device. And this is a menu that you're going to be accessing fairly frequently. So it's just another weird choice. It's Xbox's whole collaboration thing with Asus here, not making their own flagship device. This to me very much feels like Xbox was excited about the work they put into the Xbox full screen experience, and they wanted to partner with a third-party company in order to get that out on like what would be a flagship type device. And I think through software updates and tweaks like that, like some growing pain things are probably going to get figured out. You know, it's interesting because you can just launch with the Steam kind of big picture visual here. You still have to deal with all the usual Steam pop-ups and stuff like that, but some of it is minimized. Epic Games Launcher is not the greatest to navigate, and you don't technically have like a trackpad here, but the touchscreen, you know, it's okay. So there's clunky aspects to it, and I mention a lot of that stuff. Windows stuff not really always working, or sometimes being finicky. Windows being Windows. Identity crisis stuff like the Armory crate button and all that, to essentially bring to my point where it's like, this is a $1,000 device, and as good as it is, you know, performance-wise, been having a great time with it, you know, form factor, all that, it still feels like a weird mishmash Frankenstein thing. And I think ultimately I'm addressing it this way because I've seen a lot of consumer sentiment, a lot of people excited about this thing as their first handheld. I think that if you're going into it as your first handheld, your first PC gaming handheld, especially if you're a novice to PC stuff, you just need to know that there's going to be some frustrating aspects to it, some finickiness to it, some updates you're going to need. You're going to need to restart a bunch. Shit's going to crash. I had a couple of hard crashes here. So I can't say like run out right now and buy this thing for $1,000 unless you're a hardcore freak with a big bank account. No offense, but I think it really comes down to you and like what type of device you're looking for, because that's the beauty, like not to like pivot off to another thing, not really about this, but that is the beauty of handheld PC gaming right now. It is kind of the Wild West, and you see different interpretations of it. The GPD Win, if you want to like spend a bunch of money. There's the MSI Claw, which is technically, I believe technically a little more powerful. This certainly has a bigger battery life. The Legion Go for a bit more like hybrid functionality. Of course, the Steam Deck for all the fruit that bears with Linux and just all the work that Valve has put into that thing. And then you have this one, which is essentially probably the more streamlined and best example of Windows handheld gaming, right? But it still proved to me at the end of the day, like you can't ever completely hide Windows. You can't escape Windows. It's just like in your life, like whatever you do for a living or just in the world, you can't escape Windows. It's everywhere. And the same goes for a gaming handheld. Other than Steam Deck, of course. So after using it heavily for a few days, like I said, playing some casual games here and there, some more hardcore games, more intensive games like Battlefield 6, being absolutely addicted to Mega Bonk because my brain is just fried. And then playing a few things on this that I'm reviewing that I can't talk about yet, I can say, yes, it is a good device. It has little things here and there, but what comes with that is versatility, where like as much as I love the beauty and simplicity and almost artful nature of a Steam Deck, right? And all of that, you know, I get a little bit more capability with this. Again, I just think it comes down to like what type of user you are, what you want from a handheld PC gaming device. Do you want a complete escape from Windows with compromises, or do you want the full PC gaming Windows experience with some bullshit here and there? They've done a good job trying to minimize some of that, like I said, but the reality is it's still going to be there. But I can't deny the form factor I've really, really enjoyed as someone with terrible posture and just sits on the couch shrimp mode. It's been working out good, and especially the fact that the screen is angled a little bit differently. It's actually kind of this way, not this way. That's actually been pretty good. It's something that I was like, oh, that's kind of weird when you set it down on a table, but when you're holding it, it just makes sense. I miss my OLED screen on the Steam Deck OLED, but other than that, from a playing experience, you know, the joysticks, the fact that these have like the better triggers with like the rumble and everything like that, it's been good all around. I'll talk more about this more in a Game Ranks video in the next day or so, detailing some more stuff and some nitpicks and stuff like that. But for now, I just wanted to get some first impressions out there for you guys. I'd also love to do, I did it with the Steam Deck as well. I'm probably going to do it with this. Living with this after a couple of months, I think that's really important. So it's like, let's get this sucker on a plane. Let's get this bad boy on the beach. Let's get this guy on the subway. Let's get him in a like a underground like a bunker. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah. So I want to live with this and see how it goes. Because yeah, $1,000 is a shit ton for something like this. I mean, spec wise, like what you are getting a beefy boy, but like, look, I'm rambling. I'm talking in circles now at this point. First impressions of the Xbox Ally X here. Like I said, there is a lower tiered one. Spec wise, it's a little bit more like a Steam Deck. I've seen some interesting reviews and conversations around that one. This seems like to be the one to watch, but like I said, there's a lot of different devices out there. There's also a lot of other opinions out there. So I definitely encourage you to check out a bunch of other YouTubers that specialize in these handhelds. I don't talk numbers and specs too much, like I'm not counting frames, but even just in terms of tweaking and UI, I gotta be humble here and recommend other people for some of this stuff. Deck Ready, the Fox with the P, Nerd Nest are good places to start for breakdowns on these types of devices. Highly recommend them. I watch them personally. But again, because people like misinterpret my words, I think it's a good device. I just think it's a bit finicky. I'm going to keep daily driving it for a while to really get my full experience with it, but I think so far it's a good device. It's just a shit ton of money. It's a little finicky, but honestly, it's crazy how far we've come with this stuff. The fact that I was experiencing Night City and in Cyberpunk on a device like this, where I remember picking up like the PlayStation Portable and thinking it was insane that that could muster up 3D graphics. And now this is where we're at. It's crazy. Anyway, I've yapped enough. This is the Wednesday news video. You know, in terms of news, not too much to talk about. So I figured I'd dish it about the newest handheld a little bit. So let me know what you think, man. If you were anticipating one of these things, if you had one pre-ordered or whatever, I'd love to know what you do for a living. No, I'd love to know your perspective. If you're just a PC gamer, if you're like a PC/Xbox gamer, maybe you were interested, maybe you're coming off a completely new, or you're not interested. Either way, I'd love to hear your perspective in terms of like, why? Is it price? Is it usability? Is it Windows? Is it just you don't need to play certain types of games? Like, where are you at with this? Let's talk. If you like listening to a guy yap for a while, if you appreciate this, clicking the like button legit helps me. Thank you. But that's all I got for you today. I'm Jake Baldino. I'll see you elsewhere. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.